What's up, Panthers Nation? We are back today with another video and a win over the Pittsburgh Steelers in preseason game number 4. Now, I gotta tell you, it did not start out pretty. Our offense did not look good starting out. We struggled to get any points whatsoever. And when I say that, I mean the offensive line looked like complete garbage cans. Complete garbage cans. Dumpster fire, trash cans, whatever you want to throw in there analogy-wise. They looked awful. More specifically, number 63, our fourth-string left guard, Tyler Catalina. I want to point him out specifically because this man was solely responsible for at least half a dozen pressures, one sack, and at least 2 forced interceptions. Dude, I don't even know why we still have this person on our team. I don't know why we still have this guy on our roster. You cannot miss that many blocks and still be on our roster when you're fighting for roster spots for the 53-man roster. This man has to go. And if he is still on our roster, I'm going to be very, very frustrated because that was one of the worst, I want to say, since 2015, when we had that awful left tackle. But we won't even go into that. We won't even go there. But I want to start out with that right there because Tyler, the amount of missed blocks and it just highlights our offensive line troubles. It really does. You go back and look, all the way back through the Bills game, all the way back to the Bills game, where we still had offensive line troubles. But this game really highlighted them tremendously well for 3 quarters. That offensive line gets a D grade from me today. The only thing saving them was that fourth quarter. That's the only thing. You hear the announcers talking about how Jordan Scarlett isn't hitting the hole hard enough or fast enough. And generally, yes, that's true. But ever since that Bills game, you can't just blame it purely on Scarlett. I feel like that scouting report is kind of skewed because of the offensive line. Not opening up holes. There are at least 3 times he got stopped right dead at the line on a draw play. On a basic draw play. That's not Scarlett's fault. That's the O-line, ladies and gentlemen. And when you cannot open up holes for your running backs, Holyfield got the benefit of decent blocking and good holes opening up for good runs, ISOs, sweeps, you name it. But before that fourth quarter, you're talking about Reggie Bonifon. You're talking about Jordan Scarlett, who did not have good enough holes to run through in the past 2 games. I was willing to overlook it with the New England Patriots defense because the New England Patriots defense is stacked all the way down their roster. Now the Steelers, on the other hand, have really been struggling to rebuild that defense, particularly the run defense. as of lately. They gave up how many yards last year, regular season? You guys, you guys look up the stat and let me know. But I mean, it was plainly noticeable that these guys should have, and plainly will have, good holes if the offensive line blocks and opens up the holes for them. All right, so I'm cutting the running backs a break yet again. This is the third week in a row I'm cutting the running backs a break. And I'm giving them a B plus because what they were able to do, they did it well. They pushed for those extra yards. They got those touchdowns. They got those extra yards that they needed to push for and push the entire line forward. So, B plus from the running backs. Wide receivers, A, from what I was able to tell, everybody was able to catch the ball and successfully get it done. You throw the ball to them, generally they're going to catch it. We got people with really good hands on this roster, and I'm pretty happy with that. Tight ends, A. Vanderleen looked good. You talk about our Hemingway. That's who I was trying to remember. Hemingway got that really nice touchdown. So, he looks good as well. I think, with Greg Olsen and Ian Thomas not on the field today, both of them got a good chance to really stretch out their legs and show the coaches what they were capable of doing. So that's really encouraging to know that we have good tight end backups on our roster that are capable of really pushing those limits. So, excuse the yawn, it's been a really, really long night. Quarterback, B minus. Here's where it gets interesting. You can't blame, half of what Will Grier did was on Will Grier, but the other half was on the offensive line. Not getting it done, more specifically Tyler Catalina, on that right side. I think he's listed as a left guard. But, yeah. That offensive line collapsed a lot during that time. And Tyler Larson was part of it. No, not Tyler Larson, but Matt Polardis. Matt Polardis was part of it as well. He gave up. He did not properly block up the middle as you would expect for the entire 3 quarters. So that being the case, you got a lot of pressure coming at you. And it's not that the Steelers have that great of pass rushers. It's that our offensive line looks really, really, really suspect. So, then you go on to Kyle Allen, 4 for 7, I believe it was. He looked okay. I wasn't thrilled with his underthrows, but it's Kyle Allen. He's been struggling the past few weeks, so I don't know what to say about him right now. But Taylor Heinicke rose up and took that second or third depth chart spot today. He really impressed me. Yes, he had some overthrows. Yes, he had some underthrows. But look at that touchdown pass. Look at that magical touchdown pass. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You want to talk about a perfect throw? This went straight over the defender's hands, right into Adric Robinson's hands. Just dead into his hands. Perfect throw. I mean, you're talking about one of those perfect throws that you expect from a veteran quarterback. And then let's talk about that 2-point play. Let's talk about that real quick. He was flushed out of the pocket. Comes around to the left side of the field. Has to throw across his body. I'm talking about like that right there. Can you imagine being a quarterback and having to throw it like across your body like that? Between two defenders in a perfect double team, I might add, in the middle of the end zone. And he just throws it right in there like a dart. I mean, it was just perfectly thrown. It's incredible. That was a veteran throw right there. That's a starting quarterback type throw. I've been very, very happy with his progress this year. These last two games in particular. Because I watched him during the last week of training camp, leading into that New England game, and then into this Steelers game. You know, I couldn't see any of the practices, because I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. So I don't get to see any of the practices that are closed off to the public. Everybody doesn't get to see those. But what I did see before they started closing it off to the public, I was very, very impressed with his progress. He was starting to really wake up and take over that second or third depth chart spot where he belongs right now, I believe. So I'm very impressed. I'm very happy with him. I hope he continues his progress. So that is what got the quarterbacks a B-, because he really, really stepped up today. And that makes me very happy and encouraged for the future. And half of those good throws that he got out of there under pressure. So I want to point that out. So that's the offense. We're going to move on to the defense. Defensive line, I'm going to say B+. They moved the line pretty well. They won the battle in the trenches. They look good. This is second stringers, third stringers, fourth stringers. They won that battle on the line. Very happy to see that. The Steelers don't really have that much depth right at the moment. But what they do have a handful of talented players that are really, really good. One or two of those are on the trenches, on the offensive line. So, you take all that into consideration. I definitely give the D-line a B+. They look good. They got a great amount of pressure in there. Defensive ends. Excellent battle between the defensive ends today. I mean, these guys were really going at it. You had tons of pressure from the Panthers D-line dialed up by the defensive coordinator, and they were just all over the field. I mean, we shut down runs, we shut down draws, we shut down ISOs. It was impressive. the rushing defense was very, very good. And that was a major concern, you know, leading into this game. I mentioned that at least a half dozen times in the past 2 or 3 weeks. Probably for the past month, realistically, ever since camp started. So that's encouraging to know that you have players in your second string, third string, fourth string that can really plug up those gaps and stop the runs without the starters in. Now, granted, you're going against second string, second, third, fourth string guys as well, but that's very encouraging. Some of these guys, I would really encourage the coaches to look at that tape and start moving people up from the second and third string, because that really demonstrated to me that these guys want this. They showed the effort. They showed the determination. They were disciplined, and they got it done. You didn't see any offsides penalties. You didn't see any garbage penalties from the lines or the people that were making those pushes. So that's really disciplined football, and I'm very happy to see that as well. That's a definite improvement from last week. Mostly the effort that was put in was a huge improvement. Huge improvement. We got to that quarterback faster than he could even get that thing out of there sometimes. So, that being said, the corners, there was a real battle for the corners. Corn Elder looked good today. I was very happy with Cole Luke in the last 2 minutes. Cole Luke is my 2-minute game player. Last 2-minute game player. He had a nice open field tackle. He had a good pass breakup. And he was just basically all over the place. He was just pass rushing. He was making some noise out there on defense today. And I was very, very happy with that. Christian Miller. This dude, I'm going to tell you, Christian Miller, something awakened the beast in him today, because this dude was spitting fire today. He was all over the place. I mean, it's third quarter, fourth quarter, all of the second half. He was just everywhere. He was making open field tackles. He was breaking passes up. He was he was rushing that quarterback successfully, hurrying him. So, got to be very, very happy with that. So, linebackers definitely get that B-. There's some improvement to make, but, overall, very happy with what I saw. Free safety, strong safety, you didn't see much of them. Also, there was that interception. That was the craziest interception I've seen in a long time. That ball never touched the ground. You see stuff like that in the regular season, and you just go, huh, really? You literally have to watch that replay about half a dozen times to figure out, oh, that ball never touched the ground. And you have to look at it from the right perspective to see, holy cow, that ball actually never touched the ground. And it just shocks you. It shocks you every time. Because you're thinking, okay, how does this ball not touch the ground? But somehow he comes up with it, and I'm just like, wow. There's some plays in football that just baffle your mind. And that was one of them for me. I've seen a lot in 15 years of watching football, 15 plus. Uh, if you include the years I was trying to learn it, I've never seen anything like that. Not in the NFL. I've seen some weird plays, but I've never seen anything like that. Um, so, coaching, I would have to give it a B minus. And here's why. When you got... let's just get into this. When you've got 22 seconds left, a 10-10 tie, going into halftime, you get the ball back on what, the 30-yard line? Why would you try to... with one timeout? I don't get it. I don't get the mindset of what Ron was trying to do with that. Because here's the thing. It turned into a pick on this, what is it, first, second, third play of that drive. And they got a field goal out of it. What are you thinking? It's that kind of mindset. That's the type of Ron Rivera we're trying to steer away from. Coaching wise. That's exactly what we're trying to steer away from. That's the Ron Rivera we've been seeing for the past 3 or 4 years. He reared his ugly head again. And I don't understand it. You're talking about clock management. You're talking about trusting your players enough to not push the limits and not let them get those 3 points or risk an interception. You're not going to get in field goal range for Sly, first of all. Just because you saw him hit a 59-yarder, it's just not smart football. It's not smart. 22 seconds left. You don't need to get greedy going into halftime. You don't. Just run the ball. You want to see more of the running backs anyway. Just run the ball. Run the clock out. That baffles my mind. So yeah, coaching B minus. I was not happy with that. Play calling, I'll give it a solid B minus. I'd like to see more out of the play calling, but it was better than last week. It was much better than last week. The Steelers secondary doesn't really test you near as much as New England's secondary does. All the way down the roster, so you know. I'm not going to really criticize that one too much. We did end up checking it down because the offensive line did not block well enough to give the quarterbacks enough time to get these passes downfield. But when they did, these quarterbacks made them count. So, you know, final thoughts. You're looking at a 53-man roster cut right now after this game. It's going to be real interesting to see who stays and who goes. So, with that in mind, who would you like to see stay? Who would you like to see go? As we cut down to the 53. Let me know in the comments below. If you're new here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to push 350 subs. And hit that bell so you don't miss any new content as we go forward into the weeks ahead. Now, I told you I was going to put out a video for revisiting our regular schedule. That will come out either tomorrow or Saturday. So be looking for that video tomorrow or Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. I meant to put up that I usually do 3 looks at it. One after the right before the training camp. Which is when it first comes out. The second one when you hit the second week of preseason, and the third one right before the season starts. And that'll be my final prediction. So I've skipped the second one. So we're just going to be doing the third prediction. So be looking for that video either tomorrow or Saturday. Possibly. Or after all the final cuts are in for the 53-man roster. Which, you know what? That's what I'm going to probably do. After this 53-man roster, I'll throw out that prediction and revisit number 3 prediction. And from that point on, we look at, after week 3, we revisit it again for the 4th time. And then at mid-season, we'll do roster review, schedule review number 5. And that by that point in regular season, we'll have a clear idea of what we're looking at and what we're going to be doing with going forward. And the final one will be 3/4 of the way through the regular season. That'll tell us what we're going to be doing playoff-wise. That's playoff prediction 1. So, that being said, be looking for that video after the 53-man roster is finalized. Right before week 1 of regular season against the Rams. I will try to put out another video as well. And we'll see how that goes, schedule-wise. I haven't had much time lately, but we'll see how that works out for you guys. Thank you guys for the support, all the love, all the comments, all the generosity that you guys have shown. And let's keep it going. And let's keep pounding. Congrats on that win, Panthers. Let's keep it going.